Sherri Rasmussen was the victim of a murder in 1986, and after more than 2 decades, they discovered the culprit of her demise. This is the interrogation against her perpetrator.
Stephanie, I don't know if you know my partner.
Hey, great.
Hi.
Stewart, nice to meet you.
See you guys.
How's it going?
Good.
I don't want to talk about this in the squadron because I don't know who people are listening.
The detectives made up an excuse to talk to Stephanie Lazarus behind closed doors to ask her for advice on a stolen art case, since Stephanie was someone like them. The cops rehearsed and prepared for this interrogation more than any other in their lives, keeping the ground amicably and without arousing suspicion to have as casual as possible and wait for the key moment to confront her.
We've been assigned a case that we've been looking at. Okay, it's a new case, and reviewing the case, there's some notes to see as far as your name being mentioned.
Okay.
Do you know John?
Try to imagine for a moment that you took your rival's life in a savage and jealous rage. 2 decades have passed since that event, but suddenly you are sitting in front of 2 experienced investigators who bring the name of the guy for whom you committed a first-degree crime.
John Rutten?
Stephanie doubts the name the detectives say, yet we know the suspect had her second longest relationship in her life with this man. This pause to try to remember his name is already somewhat dubious and suggests an attempt to mislead the detectives by acting as if John Rutten was not a name that she had ingrained in her memory and that at some point was very important in her life.
Yeah, I went to school with him.
You did?
Yeah.
How long did you know him?
Gosh, I went to school in, let's see, went to UCLA in 1978 I started and, met him at school at the dorms.
Stephanie says she met him in the dorm, leaving out the fact that they were together for 4 years and spent a lot of vacations together. Even though she has not asked outright, someone honest would volunteer that information.
Were you guys friends, close friends?
Yeah, we're very close friends.
Yeah?
I mean, what's this all about?
Well, it's a case we're working on. It involves John, and in there, some of the things we reviewed, there's notes and stuff that he knew you and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, we good friends.
Was there ever any relationship or anything that developed between you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we dated, I mean, what's this all about?
Well, it's relating to his wife.
It's unfortunate that we don't get to see Stephanie's face while the detectives are mentioning John's wife, because that would undoubtedly have triggered an immediate psychological reaction known as the fight or flight reaction. This is a physiological response to the perceived as an attack or threat to survival, which is defined by staying and facing the threat or escaping in search of safety. Stephanie decides to confront the detectives.
Okay.
Okay. Did you know her?
Not really. I mean, I knew that he got married years ago.
Did you ever meet her?
God, I don't know.
Do you know who she was or anything?
Well, let me think. God, it's been a long time ago. I may have met her. Geez.
The words, "my God," "good geez," are exclamations that you will hear continuously during this interrogation, where the suspect is trying to imply that she has a vague recollection of them. Stephanie wants to give the impression that she has no reason to think about John or anything related to him.
And let me ask you, you said you dated John. How long did you guys date?
I mean, what, are you guys, is this something, I mean, you said I was going to interview somebody about art, and how you...
Stephanie is a police officer and has been for 26 years. She knows that if she acts oblivious to the unusual development of this situation, it will be an obvious warning sign in front of the cops. We have seen on many occasions that suspects who end up being guilty often act naively in the face of confrontation as a means of avoiding it altogether, while the honest suspects face the accusation and will want immediate clarification and transparency.
Stephanie, here's the situation. Is basically, we knew that this, when we saw this in this chrono, that maybe, there was some relationship there. That's what the chrono seemed to indicate, and we didn't want to come up to you at your desk and ask those kinds of questions or do anything. You know how up there people can see what's going on if you go into an interview room or people are in there getting supplies.
Okay.
So we wanted to afford you some privacy, some confidentiality
Okay.
to talk about this, because we thought it might be, something, you're married to someone else, obviously, and so forth, and that you may not want to, talk about these things in that setting where someone, we don't want the rumor mill or gossip or any of that kind of stuff
I
to
mean,
start.
that's fine. I mean,
The detective subtly avoids Stephanie's question, but instead of reaffirming the suspect's answer, he shifts the focus to give Stephanie and that they are just following a protocol. Lazarus asks, "What's going on?" And the detective responds with something like, "We're your friends. We're doing you a favor." This will lower Stephanie's guard and they will resume their conversation.
oh God, that's been a million years ago. I mean, what year is it now? 2009? I mean, I graduated in 82. 82, yeah. We dated. I dated other guys. I'm sure he dated other girls.
Well, let me ask you, roughly how long would you say you guys dated?
Oh, jeez. I couldn't even say.
Stephanie will now start rambling and saying things that make no sense in the face of the question the detectives asked.
I started UCLA in 1978. I graduated in 82. I don't even remember what year he graduated, if it was a year or two before me.
Okay.
I think he was a little bit older than I was. I mean, I can't remember if he was born, let's see, I was born in 1960. I don't know if he was born in 58 or 59. I mean, I knew his parents, I knew his sister. His brother went to Northridge. His sister had spent the night at my house before. Obviously, I spent the night at his house before. He probably spent the night at my house before.
This over-explanation by Stephanie is a clear indication of derivative hyperactivity from terror management theory, or TMT for short, where the suspect will go on tangents unrelated to the case for a small moment of relief. Explaining trivial things in detail will allow you a brief escape from the terrible reality that is happening in front of your eyes. This is often done in interrogations when suspects face serious charges.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because from what you're telling me, you guys dated while you were in college together, right?
Yeah, and probably after college. I can't. Geez, trying to think when I met my husband. I met Scott when I was teaching DARE up in Oregon, but we had long stopped, dating before that.
So you haven't talked to him for a long time?
Oh, I think I haven't talked to him in a long time. I couldn't even tell you when the last time I talked to him. I got married in 1996. I think I met Scott in 92.
Since you met your husband, Scott, you hadn't talked to him?
I mean, he may have called me once or twice before we got married. I mean, what's this all about? I mean,
Well, let me ask you.
The suspect challenges the detectives a second time to explain what is going on, and again the question is avoided, but now in a more confrontational way. The detectives are ratcheting up the pressure in a very subtle but highly effective way.
What ended the relationship between you and John?
It was kind of a weird relationship. I mean, we dated. I can't say that he was my boyfriend. I don't know that he would consider me his girlfriend. It just didn't work out. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It was like I went out with other guys.
Had you ever met his wife?
I may have.
Do you remember her name or anything, or? Or what she did for a living, or where she worked, or anything about her?
The suspect was asked 3 consecutive questions related to the victim. She was in a reflective state during these 3 questions, but her facial expression changed completely. This is because Stephanie was pretending to be in a reflective state in the first 2 questions, because she already knew the answers, while on the last question, she was genuinely searching her memory for the correct answer.
Do you remember her name or anything, or? Or what she did for a living, or where she worked, or anything about her?
Well, I'm going to say that I think she was a nurse.
Sherri Rasmussen was 29 years old and newly married to John Rutten. She was a nurse at a medical center. On February 24th, 1986, she called in sick and was absent from work. After that, she was never heard from again.
I don't understand why you're talking about some guy I dated a million years ago.
Well, do you know what happened to his wife?
Yeah, I know she got killed.
You don't need to be a detective to notice the terror on the suspect's face right now. She just verbalized the tragic demise for the first time in over 2 decades. A crime that occurred in 1986 is being addressed again in 2009, when Stephanie already thought she had gotten away with it. Everything seems to fall apart.
What did you hear about that?
I saw a poster at work. I'm sure I spoke to him about it.
Was it everything okay between you guys? I mean, there wasn't anything uncomfortable or anything between you and her?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's been so many years. I mean, uncomfortable. I mean, I can't even remember if we had a conversation. I mean, we may have. I may have seen her at his apartment. You know, geez, how many years ago was that? I don't even know what year she, got killed.
8 witnesses testified separately that Stephanie confronted Sherri at the hospital she worked at while she was in an intimate relationship with John. The witnesses say that the confrontation was highly aggressive, and Stephanie was escorted off the premises by guards. Reports state that the suspect was by far the most combative and even made threats against Sherri's life.
Do you know what the circumstances were regarding her death?
Jeez, let me think back.
Again, Stephanie misleadingly tries to remember what the conclusion of the case was.
I don't know if it was, if it was a burglary or something. It's been so many years.
Remember her first name?
Shelly, Sherri.
The suspect utters her victim's name for the first time after decades of keeping this secret hidden.
Like I said, it's been so many years, and
the detectives then dig into the suspect's amorous past, trying to elicit every detail that takes down Stephanie's speech. But she manages to be accurate and clear, making all the pieces of her puzzle make sense. They repeat questions phrased in different ways, yet the suspect and cop knows the game of these 2 detectives perfectly. Her words are sane, yet as the hour-plus interrogation progresses, her face leaves clear clues that something is not right with her. Surely Stephanie has been dealing with this for too long. Her pulse racing and her breathing hitching in the face of the constant prodding of these 2 detectives about her and John's past, and her face reveals her evident discomfort and delirium.
Some of Sherri's friends said that you and her were having a problem because of the John situation.
Well, number one, I don't know who her friends are. Because again, I don't recall if he did tell me where he met her. I don't know even who these friends are.
Well, that's what I'm reading, is that you guys had problems with each other and words were being exchanged, and it's all relating to John. The reason we're asking you is they had mentioned that an incident at her work had occurred, and they've also told us that an incident at her house occurred.
You know what?
And this is at her house during the period of time that they're married.
That's just not sounding familiar at all. Was John there? Did John say this happened? And other people were there? I don't recall. I mean, it just doesn't sound, familiar.
And this is an incident where you showed up. You weren't supposed to show up. And things got heated.
At his house?
Did you ever fight with her?
You mean like we fought?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean...
You'd remember that, right? That would be pretty...
Yeah, I would think so.
Pretty specific.
Yeah, like I said, I mean,
dramatic.
obviously... it just doesn't sound familiar.
The suspect's anxiety is becoming more and more noticeable. Her desperation is getting out of control. Her breathing is labored. Her eye movements are rapid. She gestures a nervous smile repeatedly. She clearly feels like the world has come crashing down on her.
This occurred in 86, right? Detectives processed the scene, things of that nature. They did the best they could at that time, and they looked at a lot of people, different things in this case. And you're right.
I mean, if you guys are claiming that I'm a suspect, then, I got a problem with, with that. Okay? So, if you're doing this as an interrogation, you're saying, hey, I'm a suspect. Well, now I got a problem with, now you're accusing me of this? Is that what you're saying?
We're trying to figure out what happened, Stephanie.
Well, I'm just saying, Do I need to get a lawyer if you're accusing me?
Now, what we'd like to do is, we asked you for a DNA swab. Would you be willing to give us one?
Maybe. Because I know how this stuff works, okay? Don't get me wrong, you're right, I have been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And I wish I had been recording this. And now it almost sounds like you're trying to pin something on me.
No,
now I got that sense.
Well, what it gets to on these cases, and you know it as well as I do, our job is to identify and eliminate
I
suspects.
can't believe this.
So, if we ask you to the point, give us a DNA sample, a buccal swab, so we can identify or eliminate you, would you be willing to do that?
Maybe. I just can't even believe it. I mean, it's just, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that somebody would be saying that I did this. I mean, we had a fight, so I went and killed her. I mean, come on.
The suspect gets up and leaves the room. However, the cops state that she is under arrest immediately. Lazarus returns to the interrogation room, this time with his hands cuffed.
This is absolutely crazy.
Have a seat, Stephanie. Okay. Stephanie, you know you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
Yes,
Anything you say may be used against you in court. Do you understand?
yes,
You have the right to the presence of an attorney before and during any questioning. Do you understand?
yes.
If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you free of charge before any questioning if you want. Do you understand? Do you want to talk to us right now?
No.
What Stephanie didn't know was that the cops already had a sample of her DNA that matched a bite mark found on the victim's body at the crime scene. The reason this was recorded was to show it as evidence at trial. Stephanie was 26 years old when all indications were that she would be a model police officer. However, the DNA test showed 25 years later that Stephanie Lazarus beat and killed Sherri Rasmussen, her ex-boyfriend's wife, out of jealousy.
Your Honor, I'm John Rutten. There are really no words that can describe the loss of Sherri and the whole of this experience. Sherri Rasmussen had a profound impact on so many people. I was proud that she agreed to be my wife. Sherri's loss, the way she died, and the trial 25 years after her death has had a profound impact on many, many others. Again, words are feeble tools for describing these impacts, but there are so many moments and so very many tears, and the fact that Sherri's death occurred because she met and married me brings me to my knees.
Stephanie pleaded not guilty, but was sentenced to life in prison behind bars. She was detained inside the maximum security unit at the California Women's Center.